Hello and welcome to another special bonus episode of Damn Interesting Week. This bonus episode is all about dangerous animals, including some that you might have thought were cute and cuddly, but are actually quite threatening. It's kind of like how serial killers are always very charming. I think the deception element really ratchets up the fear. But we're doing our part to get the word out. So hopefully you'll only ever encounter these dangerous creatures in archival narrative audio format. My name is Jennifer Lee Noonan.
I'm Angela Epley.
I'm Spurr-Chen.
I'm Bradley Calhoun.
And these were some damn interesting weeks.
First link. Our first link comes from Thailand by way of The Guardian. They report that we live in a cage. Residents hide as macaque gangs take over Thai city.
Oh, no.
Wow. Yes. The monkeys have taken over, and not only taken over. So basically what's happened is tourism is a major primary cash cow for Thailand. And ever since the pandemic hit, it's kind of dried up a bit. But one side effect of having so many tourists in Thailand, they have these setups where tourists can feed bananas to these macaque monkeys. Mm-hmm. And without all the tourists giving them bananas that they've come to depend on, they're basically getting into chips, candy, and specifically sodas that have a ton of sugar, which is prompting a ton of breeding.
Oh, wow.
And they are overrunning the city.
They're going on raids, basically. They're like, if you're not going to feed us, we're going to loot.
It's exactly right. The resource wars are a very common thing in all of the animal and plant kingdom, and we're starting to see an effect of that. There was a social media video that went viral in March that showed hundreds of them brawling over food in the streets. And they've basically doubled their population in 3 years. So there are 6,000 of these monkeys running around this town in Thailand.
Wow.
The article notes that an abandoned cinema is now serving as their headquarters. So they've taken over, nobody's going to the movies right now. And so they don't have a lot to fear. A nearby shop owner has to display stuffed tiger and crocodile toys in an attempt to try to scare off the monkeys, who, as the article notes, regularly snatch spray paint cans from his store.
What? Are they tagging?
What are they doing with them?
I mean, they have opposable thumbs. Maybe they're tagging, maybe they're huffing, who knows? But either way, it's not a good recipe for what monkeys should have in their hands, right?
Yeah.
It's making me think of the scene in Gremlins 2,
yes!
where all the gremlins take over the movie theater. Like, that's how I imagine it must be. That's terrifying.
100%. Yeah. So what the wildlife department officials have been doing is luring the animals into cages with fruit. They take them to a clinic where they're anesthetized, sterilized, and then they have a tattoo to mark that they've been neutered. The department has a long-term plan to build a sanctuary in another part of the city. They're anticipating some resistance from the human residents because, as one person from the wildlife department noted, quote, it's like dumping garbage in front of their houses and asking them if they're happy or not. So they know that they need to survey the people living in the area before they actually get this done. But the shop owner whose spray paint cans are getting stolen, he said that he will miss them if they are moved. Quote, I'm used to seeing them walking around playing on the street. If they're all gone, I'd definitely be lonely.
Oh.
I guess you take what you can get, any socialization.
Right. And, there is a lot of magic. If you've ever watched monkeys play or get into mischief, they're so human-like. It's really difficult to have very low emotional response to such majestic creatures.
Yeah, I mean, it's one thing if, you're giving them some chips or they're playing or being cute, but when they're having a 6,000 monkey brawl in the street,
right.
That feels like a little scarier. Like, I don't know how strong macaque monkeys are, but I know that even, never mind big apes, even chimpanzees, which are much smaller than us, are still much stronger than we are.
Yes, exactly. If they kind of figure, and they're basically, according to the pictures, they kind of look like they're the size of cats. But we all know how much damage cats can do,
And they don't even have opposable thumbs.
That's right. That's right.
Oh, I just realized what they're going to use the spray paint cans for. All you need is a flame source, and those are flamethrowers.
Don't give him any ideas, Jennifer.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
In.
I hope no Thailand macaques are listening to this podcast right
now. Next link.
Next link.
This article comes to us from nationalgeographic.com, and it's titled, This Fierce Fish Grows 20 New Teeth Each Day. The Pacific lingcod is an ill-tempered, omnivorous fish with a mouth like a messy silverware drawer. It's 500... It's 500 plus teeth arranged haphazardly on two sets of highly mobile jaws. New research published this month in the scientific journal Proceedings of the Royal Society B reveals that the Pacific lingcod gains and loses an average of 20 teeth every day. If humans had the same dental scheme, we'd replace a tooth daily.
Oh, okay.
Adam Summers, professor of biology at the University of Washington and co-author of the study, says, kind of makes braces useless. And brushing. So, the Pacific lingcod's rate of tooth replacement came as a surprise to researchers, says study co-author Carly Cohen, a PhD student at the University of Washington studying the biomechanics of feeding. Cohen says, the existing research we have on tooth replacement comes from oddballs, such as anglerfish that grow teeth on their foreheads, or the piranha, which can lose a quarter of its teeth at a time. But most fish have teeth like lingcod, and so it could very well be that most fishes are losing mass amounts of their teeth daily and replacing them quickly like this species. The Pacific lingcod is an ornery sport fish, about 4 feet long at adulthood, an ambush predator that frequently indulges in cannibalism. It's found on the North American West Coast from Alaska to Baja California, Mexico, and it's economically important to fishers in part because it's great in a taco.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's a wide range, all the way from Alaska down to Mexico. That's a lot of different water temperatures it's got to survive in.
Yeah, these things seem to be everywhere. They're super long, and they have 500 teeth. So, Emily Carr, an undergraduate student at the University of South Florida and the study's lead author, says, I always joke that lingcod and I never got along. We had to add tape to the corners of the tanks because when they saw someone walking by, they would try to jump out. I never got bit, but I'm sure they would have tried given the chance.
Yikes!
Yeah, a voracious hunter, the lingcod eats anything it can shove in its mouth, and there's a lot going in its mouth. They have a set of upper and lower jaws, just like ours, but they're mobile in that they can be thrown forward and spread out. If you look inside the mouth on their palate, it's also covered in teeth. Then, all the way at the back of the throat, right before the esophagus, there are pharyngeal jaws, tooth-studded bony platforms made out of modified gill arches.
Wow.
This is like a Geiger fish.
Yeah. And when the lingcod attacks, its first set of jaws shoot forward and drags prey into the mouth where the inner pharyngeal jaws get to work crushing and shredding. For this...
no. This is absolutely... That's the alien feature.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, this is a pretty gnarly fish. I'm surprised I've never heard of it up to this point.
Well, maybe the fishery industry is doing its best to protect us from such delectable horrors of the deep.
Yeah, that's true. So, in the study, researchers used a sequence of dyes to create a visual timeline of tooth growth. First, 20 juvenile lingcod were immersed in tanks spiked with the fluorescent dye alizarin red for 12 hours. Since alizarin red is attracted to the calcium in teeth, the result was hundreds of glowing red gnashers. Over the next 10 days, batches of the lingcod were exposed to a second green dye, calcine fluorescein, I believe. Carr painstakingly counted and classified each Christmas-colored tooth for a grand total of 10,580 teeth in the 20 fish examined.
That's too many. That's too many teeth.
Yeah, it's way too many teeth. After examining the smiles of each of the 20 fish, Carr and her team learned that lingcod teeth are fated, meaning that each tooth erupts exactly where it's destined to spend the rest of its career. That's contrary to other famously toothy fish like the great white shark, whose teeth start out tiny at the back of the jaw and move forward as they grow. But what triggers the actual tooth replacement in lingcod? A second experimental condition in the study compared fish that were regularly fed with another group of fish that were given nothing to eat. The researchers found no significant difference in the rate of tooth replacement between them. That suggests the lingcod doesn't sprout teeth in response to breakage. It may be like our own baby and adult teeth, which fall out and erupt based on a genetic timer. Carr says she found the lingcod's rate of replacement surprising. There's this idea that teeth are very expensive to make and replace, but our study challenges this concept. In the calcium-rich waters of the ocean, it's clearly a worthwhile investment for the lingcod to churn through teeth to keep them sharp. Historically, the rate of tooth growth and loss in fish has been hard to estimate. For example, for sharks, the best data comes from studies that collected and counted lost teeth found on the bottom of holding tanks. And since sharks have been observed snacking on their own fallen teeth, perhaps to recoup their calcium investment, that data has always been a little suspect. Yeah, learning a ton of stuff about teeth in the ocean that you were not ready for.
You know, it sounds like this is a rich area for research, but I know scientific funding, especially in like biosciences, tend to get really underfunded. I urge this team, if anyone's listening, make some Christmas ornaments of these fish. There are so many weirdos who want to dress up their tree with a Geiger fish already in the red and green assortment. Just going to throw that out there.
Well, and if they're making tacos out of these guys, they got to be catching a lot of them. So they have to have these teeth somewhere.
My question is still, after reading this article, like, do the lingcod just eat their own teeth? Because it sounds like they get all crushed up in there when they're eating fish.
Yeah, I mean, they're probably just swallowing a few with every meal, it sounds like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's pretty metal.
And I bet it offers a lot of nutrient and food source for our below the ocean floor friends. Remember them and how much biodiversity happens there?
Oh, yeah.
I don't know, man.
True.
I feel like these guys are not going for biodiversity. They're going for supremacy under the water.
I feel like that's accurate.
Yeah.
Next link.
Next link.
Okay, let's move ashore because The Guardian has a bit about pet kangaroos. Quote, they will get you in a headlock. Australians are warned off pet kangaroos after the second death in 100 years. Yeah, it's a little funny, but also a little sad. So we typically think of kangaroos as kind of fun, right? But the marsupial's reputation took a hit earlier this month when a 77-year-old Western Australian man was killed by the pet Western Grey he hand-reared from a joey.
Aww.
As Peter Eads lay dying on his Redmond farm, police were forced to shoot the 3-year-old male kangaroo, which was preventing an ambulance crew from reaching the injured man.
He was like, no, you can't come in. That's awful.
I mean, they're not humans. They don't think the way we do, guys.
Or maybe they do. Maybe he knew exactly what he was doing.
Well, it is believed the man had been attacked by the kangaroo earlier in the day, and it is only the second death in 100 years caused by a kangaroo in Australia. Previously, it was 1936 when a 38-year-old New South Wales man reportedly died from head injuries after trying to save his dogs from a kangaroo. A University of Melbourne behavioral ecologist, Graham Coulson, says this week's attack was unexpected but unsurprising. Pet kangaroos are driven by the same instincts as their wild counterparts. Probably the owner was seen as another kangaroo, and presumably the kangaroo was trying to play fight or possibly even engage in more serious dominance fighting with him. Male kangaroos, lest we forget, are super strong, and their sharp nails and powerful kick is used to great effect, especially when they're fighting for any purpose. Earlier this year in March, a 3-year-old girl was admitted to the hospital with head, back, and arm injuries after a kangaroo hopped on the home porch she was playing on in the northern tablelands across the border in Queensland, and just a month later, a 69-year-old female golfer was knocked to the ground and repeatedly stomped by a kangaroo at a country club. Okay. So, you know, the Western Grey in particular is nicknamed the boxing kangaroo. It's got super broad shoulders, it's got long arms, the hands are as big as a human's. They grow throughout their lives. They reach sexual maturity at age 4. They're pretty pumped with some serious muscle by the time they become a male, Coulson says. They rear up on their tails, and that allows them to kick with their feet with big sharp nails, but they can also wrestle, and they will get you into a headlock. So
that's the part that's funny to me is like, I can see animals kicking and biting and punching and whatever, but like the headlock, that seems like a calculated wrestling move.
Where did they learn that, you know?
Yeah.
It's almost like you could be accidentally kicked, but an accidental headlock is a lot less likely.
I'm just imagining this alternate history where, you know, at some point a bunch of like Greek Olympian wrestlers ended up in Australia and like were just wrestling kangaroos, and it became part of their genetics, and that's why they wrestle to this day.
Right.
Crocodile Dundee could have just as well been Kangaroo Dundee, right?
There you go.
I mean, crocodiles do seem like they are natural wrestlers too.
Where do we get the kangaroo versus crocodile? Never mind. I don't want to see that.
Guarantee you that's a YouTube video somewhere.
There was
Guarantee.
definitely a show that was like entirely about facing off animals against each other in theoretical, like hypothetical fights. Like, and I've seen that on YouTube too. Yeah.
Sure, yeah. I mean, I'm not saying we should intentionally pit them against each other. I'm just saying someone has videotaped it. It's happened in the wild.
Yeah. You know, it's just part of our scientific discovery, as usual.
Sure.
Oh, nature is so metal. Next link.
Next link.
This article comes to us from Discover Magazine, and it's titled A Brief History of the Gombe-Chimpanzee War.
Aww.
It's not that adorable, unfortunately.
Chimpanzees are brutal. That I know for sure.
Yeah. So, for centuries, it was long accepted that humans were the only creatures complex enough to wage war. Perhaps then, it shouldn't be surprising that this notion was challenged by our closest living relatives. Gombe National Park lives on the western edge of Tanzania, bordered by the vast blue expanse of Lake Tanganyika. Famed primatologist Jane Goodall won renown here for her groundbreaking studies of the native chimpanzee population. The park is also home to a tribe of chimpanzees that Goodall named the Kasakela, and for a bloody time in the 1970s, this tribe turned the woodlands, valleys, and rainforests of the park into a battlefield during the first ever documented chimpanzee war.
Yeesh.
In 1971, the Kasakela tribe began to splinter after the death of its former leader. Over a span of 8 months, the separatists, which included 9 adults and their young, claimed the southern part of Kasakela territory as their own and formed their own clan, dubbed the Kahama, which I assume is on the part of the researchers and not the chimpanzees.
Yeah, I mean, when you first started that sentence, I was like, oh, we're talking about people for a second. No, we're not. We're talking about a quote-unquote tribe that we've gone and named for them.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. Yeah. A brother duo named Charlie and Hugh would occasionally lead a war party.
I'm sorry, your war general is named Hugh. That's awesome.
It's a stately name with a lot of history.
That's
Come
true.
on.
Uh-huh. Yeah, Hugh the 23rd, you know. So they would occasionally lead a war party of 6 males north into enemy territory, an unambiguous display of strength to the Kasakela. 2 years after the split, tensions escalated further. Males from the two groups would screech at each other and display their strength before retreating back to their home territory. First blood was drawn on January 7th, 1974, by a war party of 6 Kasakela males who ambushed Godi, a southern male, as he was eating fruit from a tree. Godi was not aware of their presence until it was too late. He jumped down and ran, with the Kasakela males on his heels. A chimp grabbed Godi's legs and threw him to the ground.
Aw.
The other 5 caught up, then bit, pounded, and stamped on Godi while he was pinned to the ground. After 10 minutes of the whirling tornado of screeching chimps, the northerners left, leaving Godi on the forest floor to die from his injuries. Over the next 4 years, more of the Kahama males were picked off in a similar manner. The second victim was beaten to death for 20 minutes by 3 males. Next was Old Goliath, a high-ranking male back when the two chimp groups were united. 5 Kasakela males, his former friends, turned on him. After the attack, his murderers repeatedly drummed on tree trunks, hurled rocks, and threw branches while calling out as if in triumph. Goliath died from his wounds the next day. Eventually, Hugh, a chimp who founded the separatist Kahama tribe, went missing.
I'm sorry. I'm having so many conflicting feelings hearing this because
I know.
this is like this is real violence. And
Yeah.
now okay. I'm sorry.
Yeah, you know, separatists, extremists, you know,
I'm getting caught up in the
betrayals.
drama here, y'all.
Yeah, me too. And so when Hugh went missing, he was likely killed by the Kasakela, and 2 more Kahama were killed, and 1 vanished, either killed by the Kasakela or having left the region altogether. Only Sniff, the sole survivor out of the 6 original males, now remained. For a while, it seemed as if he might manage to survive in spite of all odds, but his good fortune would not hold out. He was murdered like the others, and after 4 years and plenty of bloodshed, the war ended in 1978. Goodall explained, "For so many years, I believed that chimpanzees, while showing uncanny similarity to humans in many ways, were by and large rather nicer than us. Suddenly, I found that under certain circumstances, they could be just as brutal. They also had a dark side to their nature."
Yep.
All right, hear me out. What if I'm going to put an idea out there, and I don't want anybody to steal it because I've just gone and publicly declared it, so it's mine. I want to make a film adaptation of the Gombe chimpanzee war, but with human beings. Like, do the entire storyline with Hugh and Charlie and Sniff, but like with people. Like, Tom Hanks can start it. It'll be fine. And then everyone can have their minds blown at the end when it turns out, like, oh, this was actually based on the chimpanzee war.
Right, like it says inspired by a true story.
Yeah,
And just like at
exactly.
the end of, movies where it has like a picture of them in good times and like they went on to live their best life. and
Yes,
it's all
exactly.
pictures of the chimpanzee.
Except it's all pictures of chimpanzee.
He went on to open a repair shop that became the mayor of the town.
He became a banana salesman and was very productive.
Next link.
Next
link.
Well, today, ZME Science is asking the hard questions we've all wanted to know. Why were zebras never domesticated?
I don't know. That would be nice. Like, can you imagine riding some zebras around on a farm? That would be awesome.
Oh, and it's been done, and there's photographic proof if you go to the article at ZME Science. However, it's been a bit of an isolated incident, and so far, our efforts to fully domesticate the breed have been met with a lot of resistance. And part of that is because we know that zebras are more than just horses with stripes, which
Right.
was something that European colonists would find out the hard way after countless failed attempts to domesticate them. So part of this is we know that there's a relation to horses and donkeys because zebras also belong to the Equidae family, also known as equids. In fact, these three species are so closely related that they can interbreed and form hybrids, which have delightful names. What would you call a male zebra and a female donkey?
A zonkey.
Zonkey, yeah.
That sounds better, but they've gone with Zadonk.
Really?
Okay, let's try another one. What about the offspring of a male zebra and a female horse?
A zahorse if they're following their
Zels.
pals.
Close, a zorse. Okay, and the last one, a hybrid between zebras and ponies.
What? A pony isn't a species.
Zenny.
That's a baby horse.
A cobra.
Agree.
Sounds like a pony cobra. Never mind.
I like that a lot better than what they said, which was a zoni. But I had to look it up, Jennifer, because I had the same reaction you did, which I was like, what is the difference between a horse and a pony? It's size. So I think they were just trying to flex their their hybrid nomenclature here.
Yeah, they were just making up words because it was fun. And I'm not denying that it's fun. They're scientists.
Agree.
They're supposed to be a little more serious. Come on.
I agree. And if they should take any of our proposed hybrid nomenclature into consideration, we hope to get a credit. Just
Yeah.
FYI.
Absolutely.
But regardless of these, hybrids that are genetically possible, zebras have resisted submitting to humans the same way that horses and donkeys have. And to make this even more confusing, zebras are native to Africa, which is the cradle of humanity. Wouldn't they have been our first attempt at domestication with this family of animals?
Yeah.
Well, the article is supposing this may have had something to do with natural selection. So zebras and horses diverged from a common ancestor around 4 to 4.7 million years ago, and each obviously became adapted to their particular environments. So while herds of wild horses in North America and Europe were initially kept as food animals, they later became accustomed to humans, and then after the advent of agriculture around 12,000 years ago, horses proved their worth in transportation and warfare, which prompted humans to then be like, maybe they're worth more than food. So we started investing more time and effort into domesticating them by selectively breeding the tamest individuals. But unlike wild horses, zebras in the open African savanna had a lot more predators to worry about, like lions and cheetahs and even super smart hyenas. So they're thinking natural selection may have forged zebras into very reactive animals that are ready to leap at the slightest sign of danger. And even though they have a pony-like size, some zebras have actually managed to kill attacking lions with a single back kick.
Wow.
That's awesome.
Right? And they're not less menacing from the front either, as they're known to pack a savage bite. So they'll bite, they'll kick, they know how to defend themselves. They also seem to have a hardwired ducking reflex, which greatly hinders their capture by lasso or other methods.
Huh.
And finally, zebras have no family structure and no hierarchy, unlike wild horses that live in herds and have a structured order. So they may be less prone to, accepting orders from others, right?
Yeah, they're loyal to nobody.
Exactly. And so people were pretty quick to recognize these highly unfriendly qualities in zebras, but still tried to break the zebra to harness harness. So, for example, in the 19th century, zoologist Lord Walter Rothschild famously drove a carriage drawn by zebras to Buckingham Palace. And even later in the earliest 20th century, the first doctor in Nairobi allegedly made house calls on zebraback. Even the German army in its German East Africa colony was particularly interested in domesticating zebras in lieu of horses, and they even implemented a program to cross zebras with horses to create hybrids that were resistant to disease that typically wiped out imported horses. And even as recently as 2013, a teenager in Virginia named Shay Inman trained a zebra to ride it. And after many months of patience and reward-based training, she managed to somewhat ride the zebra, although she herself noted, quote, "Some days it's like he's been riding for 30 years, and other days he acts like he's never seen a human being."
I mean, somehow we're managing to get them into zoos at least, so they are capturable. We're just...
Aww.
We just haven't figured out how to make friends yet.
That's right. Well, it's very hard to be friendly when you've been trapped into a zoo. Like, I can see why they don't like that.
Yeah. And being friendly kind of undercuts the whole serve them to our purposes, which is really what we're talking about here when we talk about domestication.
It was a euphemism.
Next link?
Next link.
This article comes to us from theguardian.com, and it's titled, "Second Bite is One That Broke the Bones. Alaska Man Describes Bear Mauling."
Ooh,
if he described it, I guess he lived, so that's good.
Yeah. Sorry to spoil it, but yeah. So, Alan Minish was alone and surveying land for a real estate agent in a wooded remote part of Alaska when he looked up and saw a large brown bear walking about 30 feet away. Minish said by phone on Wednesday from his hospital bed in Anchorage, "I saw him and he saw me at the same time." The bear, which Minish said was larger than the 300-pound black bears he had seen before, charged and closed the ground between them in a few seconds. Minish tried to dodge behind small spruce trees, but that didn't stop the bear. Minish held up the pointed end of his surveying pole and pushed it toward the bear to keep it away from him, which simply knocked it to the side, and the force of the blow knocked Minish to the ground. He said, "As he lunged up on top of me, I grabbed his lower jaw to pull him away, but he tossed me aside there, grabbed a quarter of my face." He took a small bite, and then he took a second bite, and the second bite is the one that broke the bones and crushed my right cheek, basically.
Ooh.
And finally, when the bear let go, Minish turned his face to the ground and put his hands over the head, and then the bear just walked away.
He's just teaching him a lesson.
Yeah, I mean, really,
Holy cow.
Minish surmises the bear left because he no longer perceived him as a threat, and the bear's exit gave him time to assess the damage. Minish said, "I realized I was in pretty bad shape because I had all this blood everywhere." And also, I would say, his head was in a bear jaw, probably part of that.
I don't think you get out of that with less than horrible, horrible injuries.
Yeah, and he called 911 on his cell phone, and when talking to a dispatcher, he pulled off his surveyor's vest and his t-shirt and wrapped them around his head in an attempt to stop the bleeding. Then he waited for 59 minutes for help to arrive. Because, it's Alaska, right?
Yeah, out in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, and he says he knows that's how long it took because he later checked his cell phone record for the length of time he was told to stay on the line with the dispatcher until rescue arrived. Minish said he was worried about the bear returning to finish the job, and he kept hearing stuff. But every time Minish tried to lean up to look around, he got dizzy from his blood loss.
Well, yeah.
So he didn't come back, so I just lay there and worried about it. Minish is 61 years old. And and he's had his share of bear encounters over the 40 years he's lived in Alaska, but nothing like this. And he had left his gun in the vehicle on this job, but said it wouldn't have mattered at all because the bear moved on him too fast for it to have been in use. And Minish can now add his name to the list of 6 people he knows who have been mauled by bears in Alaska. Wow.
Yeah.
And the article ends with this incredible line from him. "In all honesty, it wouldn't have mattered either way. If it killed me, it killed me. I had a good life. I'm moving on. It didn't kill me, so now let's move on to the other direction of trying to stay alive."
I mean, I guess that's the kind of attitude you have to have if you're going to be a surveyor in rural Alaska where bears are wandering around. I mean,
Yeah.
better him than me. That's awesome. I'm glad he's got the right attitude.
Yeah,
Oof.
his mental game is on point.
Yeah,
Like,
right?
Big time. And this makes me think of a recent poll I saw going around Twitter where something like 35% of men think they could take a black bear
Yes.
in a fight.
Isn't that ridiculous?
Yeah, it's
Almost
very,
like they're
very funny.
overconfident with all that testosterone or something. Who knew?
Yeah, I think bears have a lot more testosterone, though. I don't know. Do bears have testosterone? I have no idea.
But that at least is like a steady pool of recruits. When this surveying job opens up, because the last 61-year-old got eaten by a bear, there's 35% of men out there who are like, I could sign up for that job.
Yeah,
That's what
I
we
got
need.
this.
We need dumb people. Like,
It's true. It's true. Not that Minish sounds dumb. He
No.
seems like a very competent person, just got the bad end of the bear
Yeah.
this time.
that's right. But that's
So-
why he lived.
We meant to say
Yeah.
brave.
Right.
Exactly.
All right. Well, that's going to wrap it up for this bonus episode. We hope you've enjoyed it. As always, if you like our podcast and want to support us, you can do so at patreon.com/damninterestingweek. In the meantime, my name is Jennifer Lee Noonan,
I'm Angela Epley.
I'm Spurr-Chen.
I'm Bradley Calhoun.
and we hope you have a damn interesting week. Bye-bye.